All right, so moving on to the final segment, I'll be sharing my top 5 WWE heels in WWE history. So these are the 5 best heels I do believe has transpired in wrestling history and the company of World Wrestling Entertainment. These are my top 5 heels in the company's history. So I'll be going from number 1 all the way down to number 5. Starting at number 1, Vincent Kennedy McMahon is the greatest heel in WWE history. I mean, Vince McMahon is a great heel in the wrestling business, and he's actually an asshole and a great heel outside of the ring. I mean, Vince McMahon just doesn't give a damn if you like him or you hate him. Vince McMahon was a pretty diabolical heel with this time with the company being there for basically 3 to 4 decades. I mean, Vince McMahon went as low to humiliate his employees as much as he could. He had segments in the past with his employees kissing his ass on TV. I mean, he made Trish Stratus bark like a dog in her lingerie on an episode of Raw back in the early 2000s. He cheated on his wife with Stable in a SmackDown segment back in the early 2000s as well. I mean, the man put his family through hell as well. He's actually went through things with everybody, with every family member, every McMahon on television, and has actually humiliated him several times. He's humiliated Shane McMahon in the past. He's humiliated Stephanie McMahon, challenger to, I believe, an I Quit match in the early 2000s. Cheated on his wife, Lena McMahon. He's basically humiliated his whole entire family on live television. And there's been times where he actually humiliated his son-in-law, Triple H, which that brings me to number 2. Triple H, Triple H, the cerebral assassin, man. I gotta say, that man, Triple H, is probably one of the greatest heels in WWE history. In my opinion, the second greatest heel in WWE history. He did anything in his power to stay at the top of the company. I mean, there's been times where he ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin in the early 2000s. He used Eugene as a pawn and Raw of 2004 to regain the World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, he betrayed his top allies to remain at the top of the mountain, the top of the food chain. He turned his back on X-Pac and G-Generation X. He turned his back on Shawn Michaels. He turned his back on Randy Orton when he won the World Heavyweight Championship in 2004 and kicked him out of Evolution. He turned his back on his mentor, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I mean, Triple H was a diabolical heel. Who could ever forget his run as an authority figure in 2013 to 2015? And he's actually the mastermind behind the Shield splitting in 2014 when he had Seth Rollins turn on Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose to break up one of the best factions in wrestling history in the Shield in 2014. For Seth Rollins to join his side in his authority reign when he had Randy Orton and Kane and several others by his side. But man, that was Triple H. I gotta say, man, that man played the heel role tremendously. If you want to document, if you were actually to mold and create a wrestler to be a diabolical heel, the cerebral assassin Triple H will be that guy. Second greatest heel in wrestling history. Now, the third greatest heel, in my opinion, is the Viper, the Legend Killer, the Apex Predator, Randy Orton. Randy Orton, that man, when he was the Legend Killer, that man was disrespecting legends, spitting on them, RKOing them, punting them, taking them out of action. Randy Orton was a diabolical heel when it came to disrespecting legends. Man, and he took him out of action. He actually took out the entire McMahon family in 2009, where he punted Vince McMahon, put him on the shelf. Same with Shane McMahon. Did the same to Triple H, the son-in-law of Vince McMahon. And an episode of Raw in 2009, when the feud was happening with Orton and McMahon's, he actually had Triple H handcuffed to the ropes and kissed Stephanie McMahon, Triple H's wife. That was diabolical, man. Randy Orton was one SOB. Who could ever forget where he punted John Cena's father in attendance on an episode of Raw in the past 2? And who could ever forget in 2020 when he RKO'd Beth Phoenix? Man, Randy Orton was a diabolical heel. I will say that 2009 heel run, that was some top-notch stuff from the Viper, Randy Orton. Definitely one of the greatest heels in WWE history. Now, number 4 on my list, he deserves his spot. It's the Radar Superstar Edge. I mean, Edge was the biggest heel and the biggest asshole in wrestling in 2005, When he actually took Lita from Matt Hardy in real life, it created a real life feud that was translated into wrestling with Matt Hardy and Edge just beating the hell out of each other when they had the chance. That real life animosity between each other was absolutely insane. I mean, he was the ultimate opportunist as well as Mr. Money in the Bank, cashing in on the biggest baby faces, the biggest stars of the company on 2 separate occasions. When he cashed in on John Cena in 2006, cashed in on The Undertaker in 2007 when they were vulnerable and hurt, made him create even more heat to him being a heel. And who could ever forget when he flew all the way to Boston to bitch slap John Cena's father in his own house in Boston, Massachusetts. I mean, also Edge inserted himself into the Guerrero family when he had an affair, when he was actually with Vicky Guerrero on SmackDown from 2007 to 2009, which helped him have the power to remain at the top, holding the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship on several occasions over there on SmackDown. He actually cheated on Vicky Guerrero as well to remain at the top and manipulated her. Man, Edge was one hell of a heel, man. I mean, the Rated R Superstar, the Ultimate Opportunist, was man. Oh my gosh, Edge was a perfect heel. Definitely number 4 on my list. And number 5, this one might catch a lot of people off guard, but number 5, I'm going to put Roman Reigns in that list. From what Roman Reigns did for the last 4 years with the Bloodline storyline, him being this massive heel, being desperate for control of the company, I have to say that earns him as a top 5 heel in wrestling history, because he used his family and his family bloodline to manipulate them to become the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, to hold that title for over 4 years. For nearly 4 years. I gotta say that run has to put him as a top 5 heel. I mean, during the run, he turned on his wise man Paul Heyman. He used Jey Uso as his right-hand man, basically as a pawn to remain at the top. He manipulated Jey and Jimmy during the time. Basically humiliated Sami Zayn as well, the honorary Uso. I mean, he did whatever he could to remain at the top, and also used his family to cheat in matches to basically remain at the top as world champion as well. The man generated a lot of heat during that run. I gotta say that was obviously a move that should have been done a long time ago, turning Roman Reigns heel. But that has to go down as one of the greatest heel runs in WWE history. But those are my top 5 heels in WWE history. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.